The old Edelbrock carburetor. So chances are you're watching this because you want to rebuild one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to rebuild this thing. It's pretty easy. When you rebuild these, you're not actually rebuilding them. You're just replacing stuff. A lot of it is the gaskets have deteriorated, or these little bastards right here with that little tiny rubber tip on them, that's your problem. So that rubber deteriorates because of ethanol, and then it can't meter the fuel anymore, and then it just dumps too much fuel or not enough fuel or whatever the case is. So we'll find out what's wrong with this one. It's basically not running the engine. I think it's flooding it. I'm guessing the metering rods are full of junk down in there. So the first thing you do is you remove all these top screws, and these are a Torx bit or star bit if you're a redneck. So before you pull the face off, you want to disconnect your plunger over here. Just a little clip, don't lose that guy. Don't forget to unscrew this middle thing when you can't figure out why the top comes off. Alright, now the top comes off. Try to pull it straight up if possible. That'll help not bend anything, because you might bend these little guys right here. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to set that down. And then you're normally going to have some gas in there, and it's going to be all nasty, so go dump that in something. So after you dump your gas out, you can kind of look down in there, and what you're going to see is a bunch of nastiness. And that's usually what's clogging your jets up. Down there you might be able to see some in that fuel. So, get yourself some carb cleaner or brake parts cleaner. Basically the same thing. Just go bonkers on this thing. So I'm going to go bonkers. You don't need me to show you how to do that. Alright, so I sprayed about a paycheck's worth of brake cleaner in there, and you can see it cleaned it up pretty good, but it's still going to leave a little bit of like the varnishing in there. So just get some paper towel and wipe out as much as you can. This is your passage that connects your two float bowl floats. So clean out everything that looks like it needs to be cleaned out. Now if you look right down in there, there's a jet there and a jet there. So you want to make sure you clean those really good. On your brake parts cleaner, get that little straw, shove it like in that hole and spray the crap out of it. And you're probably going to have stuff come flying out like in these areas. That's fine. Alright, so now most of that's sprayed off. We're going to start changing our seals. So here's our rebuild kit. I'm using an official Edelbrock one. I don't know if they make aftermarket ones. Never looked. So these are the little important guys I was telling you about. Got two of those. Got plenty of gaskets. These are the little gaskets we need. New spring. Another new spring that I almost lost. Alright, so throw all your stuff on the table. Comes with directions if you need them, but we're just going to toss those. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull these off. And under each one of these is going to be one of these small felt gaskets right here. And that gasket is right there. So these usually become brittle, start leaking. So you're going to scrape this off best you can. Try not to damage the aluminum too much. And then while you're at it, blow some brake cleaner and air down all these little passages. So I'm going to scrape all this off. So down underneath that is another passageway. So get that straw, spray as much brake cleaner through that as you can. And when you spray it in there, it's going to come out here and vice versa. That passageway connects to this one. That one connects to this one. That one connects to this. That one connects to this. And then your plunger over here, which is when you stomp the gas pedal to accelerate, pushes some extra fuel out these two. So you should see stuff coming out of those holes. I'll show you one real quick. So you can see how it comes flying out that hole. So you make sure you got stuff going in all those holes. Flush it all out real good because you don't want to take this thing back apart. Alright, you get the idea. I'm going to pull all 4 of these off, clean them up like that one, get ready to put my new gaskets on. Alright, so once you're satisfied with the cleanliness of all your little surfaces there, and you sprayed all your ports a couple times, make sure everything's cleaned out, take your pieces and your new gaskets. So these pretty much only go on one way. All you gotta do, see how that doesn't line up? And then it lines up that way. So there we go. Line it up like that. Slide her down in there. Try not to force anything. Should go pretty easy till it bottoms out. Next one. You can see the rear one looks different than the front, so you're probably not going to screw these up unless you force something. Slide that on there. Slide that down there. Leg bone's connected to the thigh bone. Thigh bone's connected to the... Alright, all 4 seated. Screw in your screws. That way nothing falls on the floor. You don't gotta go all Captain Caveman on these things. Just torque them down. Directions probably have torque specs in them if you really feel like reading those things. Alright, that's all I'm doing on this one. There's also one little gasket underneath that you can change if you want. I really don't think I need to, so I'm not going to. I'll move on to our upper assembly. So on this one you got your floats. And these floats just have a pin that slides out. There's nothing retaining it. That just slides out. And the float should come out. Just like that. Don't lose that pin. Then you got your little valve in here. There's that little guy. We're going to change those out. If these go bad, your bowls will just fill up and keep filling and filling and filling until it starts spraying fuel everywhere. So if you got that kind of problem going on, this is probably your issue right here. So that guy just screws in like that. You see that got a little filter on him. Filters are all nastified. So then you take a new one and just put it together like the other one was. You got a little washer. Then you got a little filter. A little tricky to get these in, but you just work that edge down. There you go. Twist it, it'll slide in. Bottom it out. Screw that guy in. Same thing on the other side. Alright, onto the plunger. So the plunger comes with a couple new pieces. So this should just all pull right off. Mine's in pretty good shape, so I'm just going to replace the rubber piece. And it goes the opposite of how you would think it goes, because it needs to seal while it's pushing downwards and shoving the fuel in. So the last step before you put your floats on is to get this gasket off. Alright, so once you're satisfied with how much you've damaged your mating surfaces using a knife to clean all this, it's ready to reassemble. So we take our new little valves, drop them in, reinstall our floats. Nevier du floater, quan la corvosse 7/16, puis du furet, la 7/16, oui and oui. If it's too high or too low, you can just bend this. It's pretty soft. It'll bend right around there. Then there's also a measurement to check when it's down, but close enough. Make sure they move freely, because now we're ready to reinstall this guy. New gasket. Oh, I put the floats on first. Now you gotta take your floats back off. Then you put your new gasket on. Make sure you go through the little holes and don't bend your things. Alright, then you put your floats back on. Don't forget your new spring onto your plunger area. You can usually just drop the spring down inside there and it'll hold it. It's got kind of a little seat thing. So that's down in there. And when you slide it together, watch out for these little guys. Should all go together really easy like that with no forcing. Check the operation of my plunger before I lock this up, so that's good. You tighten down these star bits. Make sure you go in a crisscross pattern like you're putting a wheel on. All right. And the kit comes with some other pieces. Stuff I'm not going to be using. These are for like linkages and stuff if you got wear on them, but I don't. My problem is my fuel. It's just old and sitting. So just needed a good cleaning, new gaskets. Last thing I'm going to check is these two guys. This sets your idle. So first I'm going to check where I'm at because I know I have this adjusted. So I'm going to count I'm going to bottom it out, count the turns. Plus 1/4 of a half. So I'm just going to unscrew it all the way. See what kind of goo is down in here. Probably should have done this when it was all apart. That guy looks pretty clean. So if that's all nasty or damaged, you might want to order some new ones of these. So we're just going to put that guy back in. And then if you're not doing it immediately, write down your measurement that you had. Go in and right to there. Now we're going to test it out. See if what we did worked. Alright, got the carb back on the motor. I'm ready to test this guy out. First thing I'm going to do is turn the fuel pump on so we can pressurize the system. You should hear your bowls filling up and you shouldn't see any gas anywhere. So pretty much looks like we're good. And then I'll check the accelerator pump. So right down in there, those two little guys, we should see some gas squirt out of that when I run this forward. And there it is. You see that little squirt? So we got gas in our bowls. Pump's working. Doesn't look like we got any leaks anywhere. So let's try to fire this thing up. So there we go, carb's all rebuilt, working good. Just a basic gasket refresh mostly. And then the seals and everything for the bowls. So the floats are working good. So now my engine runs again.